Hello, welcome to Will at Work. I'm Kevin. Today we're looking at the RetroN 5. This is an interesting little system. There's a cartridge in here too. Let me take that out so you can see what it looks like without any cartridges in it. This came out maybe like around 2006 or something, or maybe before that, I'm not sure. It was kind of the rage for like a half a minute. People were really kind of into it because it plays cartridges from, initially, from 5 different systems. You have the Genesis, Super NES, the NES, and the Famicom, as well as a Game Boy Advance slot down here. Now, I believe you can also play Game Boy Color games through this slot somehow. Maybe it goes in, etc. I haven't tried that part, so I just don't know for sure, but I've seen people talking about it, and I've read the support on it. So it's either going in there, or maybe it's going through like a cartridge adapter type of thing. I'm not sure. I also know that like with the Genesis side of things, you can put in like one of the carts from Hyperkin, as well as the base system from Sega, if you can find one. That'll let you play Master System carts, as well as with the Hyperkin, you can do the Game Gear, and I think something else. And maybe, what is it? With the Master System, you could also switch it over to Sega Mark III, because the cartridges are shaped differently, if you had some. Something along those lines. So you had a lot of flexibility in that regard, and then you also had the ability to connect a series of different controllers. So I have a Genesis controller plugged in here. You could plug in an original NES controller or a Super NES controller into here, and they will work across different games, and you can remap them within the system. So if you only had a Genesis controller, you could use that to play, on any of the other systems. Although if you're using a 3-button Genesis controller and, you're playing like a Super NES game or something, you're not going to have enough buttons. But whatever. And there's more ports on the other side for 2-player. And it did come with this wireless controller. And you know what, at first glance, if you look at this wireless controller, it looks cool, right? I mean, it looks like it's, it's not uncomfortable to play. They kind of have this beveled down a little bit here, so you can hold it in your hand. You've got this kind of clicky thumbstick. You've got these 2 buttons here that kind of can work as bumpers or triggers, and then you also have 2 bumpers up top. You got 6 buttons, and your select and start and a home button. Problem is, this thing sucks. I mean, this thing is horrible. Now, I will say that my RetroN 5 was an early unit in the sense of, I think I got it right when it came out, because the OS on it was like 2.1 or something, which was like really early, and I had to upgrade it to get it up to like 3.1, which is a bit of a struggle. And then you get into the actual, and that's like the firmware, and then there's actually like the software that runs on this, because this does have software that manages everything, which we'll take a look at when we flip over to the other side. And when we have that, then that needed to be upgraded to version 2.5, etc. It was a whole, rigmarole. Now there is like there are like some hacks for this that are out there, but this system kind of had a falling out. I don't know if Hyperkin still makes it. They might, but it kind of had a falling out because, for one thing, what people say, and I don't know because I don't follow emulation that closely, but they say that at least one of the emulators in here was not licensed properly, from what I understand. And so there's a concern there, right, among people that do like a lot of emulation, that this, borrowed technology. I heard the same thing with like Capcom's arcade stick. I mean, I think some of this is just inevitable in the sense of, companies want to take the best thing that's out there, and they're going to take stuff from groups. And I'm not saying that's right or anything, but that the vast majority of people that use these sorts of devices are pirating all of the software to put them on memory cards and just play them, or with multi-carts, etc. And so it's just sort of comes back around that the companies themselves are pirating the emulators in order to play the systems, whatever. So, but this controller, it is terrible. It does not work well at all. And it may be that, you know, my particular model, yeah, copyright 2014, my particular model may be even worse because it was very new and not good. But honestly, because they give you, you know, the ability to use like a standard Genesis controller or Super NES or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you know, it would have been nice if the controller they included worked well or even worked most of the time. I don't know how you can screw something like that up so badly, but they did. They did. And that's the Hyperkin just has that kind of a reputation as far as I'm concerned. They get really close to doing something really cool, and then there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of goes south. Like they don't quite spend enough time with it to make it perfect. And it's unfortunate because otherwise, you know, it's a really nice system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the video side. We'll take a look at putting in a Genesis game as well as an NES game. I have a couple of games that we can take a look at really quickly that are homebrew, and then we'll just wrap it up and talk about it. Okay, so here we go. Okay, we're looking at the RetroN 5. Yeah, so I think people just kind of fell out with this, and there's been a lot of other systems that have come out since as well, and you know, honestly, I don't, you know, this is a weird market, right? Because, like, there's a lot of companies making these clone systems, but they're all cloning the same type of thing, right? Like, they're all making cartridge machines for, you know, Super NES, Genesis, Famicom, whatever. And, you know, there's people out there that have cartridges that want to hook them up to their HDMI TV. There's no question about it. I had a friend recently just call me and say, hey, I just bought an old 2600. How the heck do I connect this thing to my HDMI TV? And I said, dude, you should probably have bought like a RetroN 77 or something. Otherwise, get yourself a VCR and work it out. But, you know, the thing is that, like, once everybody has a unit like this, unless you're a collector like me, or a lot of those guys on YouTube that do this kind of thing, there's really no reason to buy more than one of these, right? If it works and it lets you play your games, like, why are you going to buy another one? Now, collectible systems, maybe like those Atari Flashback type of systems, I'm not necessarily saying just the Atari Flashbacks, but sometimes those include new games, etc. So maybe if you wanted to play those new games and you got a good deal on it, you might buy one or two or something if you're not a collector. But, you know, for the rest of the people, it's like you buy one of these things, that's more than enough if you want to play on the big screen, you know. Now, you might buy, like, different ones for different systems, right? Like this system doesn't do turbo graphics. Maybe you wanted to get one that does turbo graphics. Fine. But my point being is on top of the classic systems that everybody bought, they got released by the various companies, it just seems like this market is going to diminish other than just some Chinese places offloading these things, because classic systems, they're just not going to be the same draw, at least for these. Now, if you had next generation ones that are CD, like the Poly Mega is trying to do, it's not out yet, and it's really expensive. So you could play like Saturn, PlayStation, and other titles of that nature, great, you know? Or if you could get an Amiga type emulator that worked with like keyboard and stuff, like computers, Atari ST or something, you know, go that route, great. But I feel like we're kind of at maximum saturation point at this point with the Genesis and the Super NES, etc. Like we've hit it, guys. You can keep making cute little boxes that all look different, and you'll still sell some of them. But I think the hitting 1 million units sold type of stuff is over. Like you got to start figuring out ways to emulate the N64 on here and things of that nature. And I do know that there are emulators out there that do that sort of stuff. But in terms of like selling the boxes, it's not so much. They really like to use these older 8-bit consoles or 16-bit in order to keep the costs down. So anyway, let's get back to the RetroN 5 and not my musings. So So you can see on the screen it says no cart inserted. You can insert more than one cart. However, it will complain if you do that, because what it does is it will download the cart into memory. And you can play it as much as you want in memory, and you can save a snapshot of where you are in the game to either SD card or internal memory. Doesn't really matter, and there's probably going to be more room on your own SD card, etc. Depending on if you want to save a lot of save states, as well as if you just keep the game in the system where you can come back to it later and pick up right where you left off. So that's a really nice feature. They have worked on it, and come up with a number of revisions so it supports most games. I'm not going to say it supports all. There may be some issues here and there. I've heard of things where like Master System games have worked and not worked and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't have a Master System converter. I'm not too concerned about that right now. I think I only own like one Master System game, maybe two. So that's not a big deal for me. But what I do have here, let's look at, we've looked at Yazzie in the past. So we'll try that first. It's a Genesis cartridge. It came out in 2020. So I'm going to plug that in. And you don't have to shut the system off, which is kind of nice. You can just put the cartridge right in while it's on. It'll recognize it. And then it'll load it into memory. And it won't know what this is because this is a homebrew card. It's not in its library, but it will still let you play it. So now we've got it where we want it. And we'll go ahead and hit continue. And we'll hit play. And it'll just tell you that it doesn't recognize what this is, and it could be inserted wrong, etc. Do you still want to play it? And we're going to go with yes. And the game just starts right up. There's no intro here because I played this before. And so it automatically, even though I had just put the cartridge in, I just committed suicide. It recognized that I've been here before. There's a save state on it already, so it just picked up and started playing. See, that's a pretty neat feature of this system. And so you can just go, right back into the game where you left off. So in a lot of ways, it's sort of an advanced setup compared to even like, it's an improvement. That's what I'm trying to say. It's an improvement over even having classic, this guy's bumming me out, over a classic console via the Genesis right here. It's not going to start right up and remember where I left off unless the cart was like battery backed, etc. And a lot of times that is not the case. So, so the more I keep playing this game over and over again, it's pretty cool. They did a good job with this. Kind of got to just collect all the gold bricks and not get caught by these guys. And you can, if you have one of those picks, you can do a load runner type of thing and drill down into it. Or if you're over like a steel girder, like the green girder, you can fall down to the level below. So see, here I have a pick and here I have a pick. Now this is interesting because I haven't dealt with this before. I'm not quite sure how to get around this. This is interesting. I'm pretty sure that, okay, oh, all right. I thought the fire barrel was gonna, mess me up, but I guess it's like Donkey Kong and it doesn't hurt. Is this like a bomb or something? What does that do? All right. Now see, I'm stuck, but if I use one of the picks, I can fall down and go through. There we go. So that's Yazzie. I'm not going to keep playing. There's my password, 4371. Let's go ahead and let's try and use this controller over here to go to the home screen. And you can even tell the way this moves. It's very goofy. All right, so unknown cartridge. So we'll go ahead and take this one out. And we'll put in Almost Hero. This is also from Mega Cat Studios. And I've purchased all this stuff. Nobody sends me anything or anything like that. I'm not cool like that. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. Loads it into memory. Again, it doesn't know what it is, but we'll go ahead and hit play. This is Momosai, the bonsai capital of the world. This is Chow Khan. This is what Chow does for a living. He sells holiday-themed bonsai trees on Etsy with upcycled materials. Very hip. Your training has prepared you for this. We have to get more bonsai seeds. If you are really a ninja, you will be the hero we need. Is that my friend, or I gotta kick his ass? Oh, that's my buddy. No, I don't want any of that, dude. Alright, I'm gonna go this way. Oh. Let's go to the dojo. What's this? Oh. Hey. Before I die, I want to say my leg cramp. I got some bonsai seeds. Look out. What's that? These guys are all about the cheap punch. Oh, I died. Oh, I jump. It's like sometimes I'm jumping. Pushing up doesn't jump. Pushing A, B, and C doesn't jump. There it is, turtle shell. Let's just pick it up. I feel like there should be more moves here. I'm still not sure how I jump. I mean, the NES only had 2 buttons, so it's like, you gotta press both buttons at the same time. I should read instructions before I play games. Bastard. You know what I am? I am a ninja. Alright. This game's too hard for me. Almost Hero. I am not. Alright, let's take this back to the main menu. I'll show you a couple other things here real quick, and we'll wrap it up. So you can do some settings, right? You can add an image filter, you can turn scan lines on and off, aspect ratio, overscan, force the original resolution if you want. I don't know who wants to mess with all that kind of stuff, as long as it plays okay. You can mess with the sound too. You can do some button mapping on your controller, although I think it only works, well, maybe not. It might work with the other one. I thought it might only work with this stupid wireless one, but it might work with the one you have. You can set the region, as well as auto start as soon as you put in the cartridge, where you want to save your data. You can do screenshots, so file manager, etc. Right? Pretty cool. If I take a, like say for instance, if I take a Game Boy Advance game, like Mother 3, let's pop this out. And when I used to use the 2.1 firmware, it used to take a long time to load the game in. So let's, now if I put this in while there's a game in here, It'll say error, multiple cartridges inserted. So it won't let you do that. It'll let you put it in. It won't cause a problem, but you can't have both. So let's take out Almost Hero, and then it will start to load. But you can see right away that the Game Boy Advance cartridge, Game Boy Advance 32 bits, probably the most powerful thing that this thing is emulating, takes a lot longer to copy the game off onto the system. Unfortunately, you have to do this every time. It would be nice if it would just sort of, keep a catalog of games that you could play once you've inserted the cartridge, kind of like a DVR of sorts, and it would be okay. Like you could maybe take the game and still insert it, so it knows that you own the game, but having to copy it every time, that seems a bit of a waste. But I realize, there's no hard drive in here or something. But maybe one day if they make a new RetroN, they could put like a terabyte drive or something and be able to save all the games on there so that you could insert the cartridge and begin, playing immediately, right? Why not? It's sometimes weird. And no, you cannot play games right off the SD card. But again, there are hacks for this that I'm aware of that you can get to maybe allow you to do that. I've read some things about like ways of like making it look like you have the cartridge that you have inserted is saved to the memory, but it's actually a different game that you loaded on there or something, so that you can always access that game with a different cartridge. But that seems like a little bit, given all the emulators that are out there, it just seems like it's a bit overkill for what it is. So, I'll just show you really quick how the Game Boy Advance works since we're here. And I think, with all emulators, people will complain about lag. I don't notice it too much. I realize it's probably there in some things, and you can obviously see it a lot more in the cheaper things that we've looked at, etc. But on something like this, it's not. It's just not obvious. And as long as I can play the game and I don't feel like I'm being like the controls aren't registering my hits, because I can probably compensate a little bit. But of course, if you're in some sort of competitive fighter or something, then yeah, it's going to be, you want to make sure there's as little latency as possible. I've seen some things recently where, getting specific controllers for certain systems will enable you to shave milliseconds off of your times and all this sort of thing. I don't know if it really helps that much. I'm not 14 anymore. I don't have the reflexes of a cat. So it's maybe for somebody, it's probably not for me. So you can see anyway that this, it's playing the Game Boy Advance title fine. So you could see it, on the big screen, and it works fine, works good, no complaints. So RetroN 5, it's a winner. I realize the controller sucks, and it has some sort of political issue about the emulator in it, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But in terms of just functionality, it works fine. It works well. So it's a keeper. Keeping it on the list. And, yep, thanks for watching. We'll move on to the next one.